And now, a math lesson. Let's say the Zaxby's chicken finger plate comes with 4, 5, or 6 hand-breaded fingers and 1 side of Zax sauce. Plus, you can try them with Zax sauce, honey mustard, hot honey mustard, tongue torch, teriyaki, wimpy, nuclear, barbecue ranch, sweet and spicy, insane. How many possible combinations does that make? Carry the 2 with the remainder... a lot. Zaxby's chicken finger plate. The sauceabilities are endless.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Lots of great locations in Tallahassee, but don't you know they're also in Marianna, Florida. They're also in Thomasville, Georgia, and Douglas, Georgia. Heck, they're nationwide. I know some of our friends don't have one in their area, but there should be one close by. But those ones in Tallahassee, Marianna, Douglas, Georgia, Thomasville, Georgia, a little more nearer and dearer to our hearts. Our being myself and Corey Clark, lead senior writer for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code Warchant30. Thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. 5-star reviews on the iTunes machine. Corey, you, man, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I can't complain. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, man. I can feel it. This is good. It's going to be a good show, I feel like. You know,
how'd the date go the other night?
All right. If you're into, highly intelligent, very ambitious young women with, like, movie star hair and like sparkling brown eyes and like a really radiant smile. It's pretty, if you're into that stuff, all right.
But you're not, so that was the last one?
Yeah, probably.
Good. Smart, man. Smart.
But no, it was good, man. It was super good. The thing about a highly intelligent, very ambitious young woman, though, Corey, is that she's really busy. But see, the joke's on her. The plan, though, is just to avoid her as much as possible so I don't screw anything up. So what do you think about that?
I don't think that's the way to go, man. I think I would go against your gut feelings on stuff like this.
Okay.
Whatever your gut tells you to do the opposite and see how that works. Like, be over the top. Tell her that you think she's got a beautiful smile. Lay it all out there, man. Lay it all out there. Sometimes that works.
Gotta have
it
some
could freak her out too, though. It could go both ways.
Yeah, you gotta have some leverage here. Maybe that's what I always thought about Mike Martin. Like, all those times in Omaha. Like, am I going to do what my gut tells me, or do I finally know? I'm not going to bunt. We're going to swing away. But yeah, these are the decisions that we have to make in our lives. But
yep, that's right.
We also, clarification possibly, I don't know, a couple people messaged us and said that we weren't listening correctly to the interview that we performed with Mike Norvell and regarding Amari Gaynor. Like, They all think that Amari Gaynor is going to stay linebacker, but instead of, like, being strong side, he's going to move to weak side, which, I don't know, cool.
All right.
But to me, that's not, like, I don't know.
I guess that's a position change, Mike.
That's not gonna move the needle over here.
That's like a receiver moving from X to Y.
Yeah.
Come on, man. He's still a receiver. Or Jarian Jones going from boundary to field corner.
Right. Yeah.
No, we're talking about going from all defense to all. We're talking about big, but we got to get him back on the show, Norvell, and say, look, we need to specify what we're talking about. We're talking about actual position changes where what's on the roster by position will be different. It'll have different letters next to them. It won't still say LB.
Right. So the schedule dropped, Corey, because we need big changes if we can see the improvement that we want. Ira Schofel, managing editor of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source, and I knocked out a video. It's always interesting when I'm with Ira because, Ira's not me, which is why everybody likes Ira. Ira's more practical, more pragmatic, more level-headed. Mm-hmm. And when we get together, I feel like I have to maybe up my game and maybe a little bit more optimistic. So he starts off with, you look at the way the schedule's laid out, and he's going to know this sounds like Groundhog Day. But if you look at it, you're thinking to yourself, man, this lines up good for a 5-1, 4-2 start. To which then I kind of later on in the video say, well, then, if you beat Notre Dame, 9 wins? 10 wins? If you beat Notre Dame, if you do think the schedule lays out to be 5-1, 4-2. I know the second half is pretty treacherous. We can maybe go week by week. But if you're going to say this team can maybe be 5-1, it lays out for 5-1, don't you have to dream the big dream at that point then and go full 4, go like 9-10 wins?
I mean, I'm not doing this, Aslan. I'm not doing it.
Come on!
I can't partake in it. There's no chance. Yes, it looks easier. It looks pretty easy in the first half of the schedule. Nothing about last year gives you any hope that any of those games will be easy. I know it's going to be a different roster with better quarterback play, theoretically. But come on, man. I mean, yeah, beat Notre Dame and go 6-0. That's something we can all hope for. Or just don't go 3-9. Get to 6 wins somehow. Is Louisville at home, is that considered an easy game? Because Louisville beat the bejesus out of Florida State last year. So,
are you, not you, the royal you, is the Florida State listener that has this podcast or her listening to this podcast, do you kind of think, well, hey, in 2019, this team beat Louisville pretty comfortably, got a little close there, but they end up kind of pulling away late. And then they turned around in 2020 and got absolutely wiped off the field with. So why can't that kind of swing back pendulum-wise? So why not?
And they lost the two guys that did all the damage aren't on the team anymore, and they're really good. But still, it's so hard in January to be pinpointing, well, that could be a win, that could be, because we don't know what this team is going to be. Because that defense was as bad as we've ever seen last year. If it's still somewhat like that in 2021, the way the games are organized doesn't matter a whole lot. Every game you're going to have to score 40 points to win, to have a shot, probably. So it's hard to really say, okay, well, what do you got? Syracuse early on. Well, man, Florida State can lose to Syracuse. Is Syracuse saying, oh man, we got to go to Florida State? Did you see that juggernaut last year? I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. That's not usually my role on this show. But when it comes to, I'm just not going to be burned by it again. It's been like 3 or 4 years in a row, and I'm mad at myself every time I do it. So this time I'm not going to do it. They should be better. I don't really know that it matters where these games are laid out. I don't look at any of those games other than UMass and Jack State and say those are sure wins or even should be wins. So, Wake Forest at home. Should that be a win? I don't know. That seems like a coin flip. They all seem like coin flips except for Clemson and Miami probably and Notre Dame.
My thing also when I was speaking to Ira about, like if we go back to 14, I don't know, who did we open with 15? Like Texas State? It's pretty, somebody, FCS.
Yeah, it was a bad team.
Non-Power 5. Like if you go back to 14, when people show you who they are, believe them. Like 2014 Game 1, Oklahoma State, hangover, national championship season, new defensive coordinator, it's going to be all right. And it kind of was. I mean, they made it to the playoff, but we never saw that return to form. 16, you struggle like heck, fighting for your life to beat an Ole Miss team that really wasn't all that good. And the defense ends up betraying you many times later on in that season, much to the way they did in the first half of that game. 17, you lose Alabama. It's all right, it's Alabama. It's going to be okay. The offense was absolutely inept that game and pretty much the rest of the season. 18, the way he looked against Virginia Tech, first game, new coach, too much energy. And then when they barely beat Sanford, quick turnaround. 19, Boise, Louisiana Monroe, if they don't beat Notre Dame, if they beat Notre Dame, maybe I should start with that. If they beat Notre Dame, then you can start believing 5-1, 4-2, and all these coin flips are going to go your way. But I still think at a place like Florida State, if you don't win your opener, a lot of those kids in that locker room, and you can talk about changing the culture and everything, the culture of Florida State is winning championships. When you lose your first game, you pretty much know all those hopes are gone. And subconsciously somewhere, you're not coming back into the office working the way you did July through September. Like if you're a player, I just don't think.
Well, look, if you lose 40-6, yeah. If you lose 31-30 and play really well and look like like Florida State again, I think that's different. I don't think, the way they lost to Boise State was a crushing loss.
Georgia Tech to a certain degree too, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Those weren't good teams. Well, Boise State was a good team, but you had a huge lead and you blew it. You choked it away. And Georgia Tech was not a good team. A guy making his first start, you can't beat that guy. And it was also, here we go with this quarterback again. And then obviously the Virginia Tech game was a debacle that kind of steered the whole season into the abyss. So if you come out and play well and lose, or play competitively and lose, like even if you play Notre Dame like you did last year, like to 16 points or 14 points, but you're still playing and still making plays in the fourth quarter, they still have to have their starters in the game in the fourth quarter. I do think that's something you can build on, whether you win the game or not. And yeah, then you're 1-1 after Jacksonville State, and then it all goes to Wake Forest, man. Like again, like I expect them to be 1-1 going to Wake Forest. Well, it's Wake Forest, Syracuse, and Louisville. Those are three eminently winnable games. But if you lose that one to Wake Forest, I think that's the one that serves as like the season opener of recent years. Like if you're 1-1 and you have a chance to go 2-1, actually have a winning record in September for the first time, I think since Bowden was the coach. So you actually have a chance to have a winning record in September, and you go up there and lay another egg in Winston-Salem and lose. That's where I think it could get dicey. Not again, unless you lose 48-9 or something to Notre Dame, and then it could be trouble from the jump.
I think, again, man, if you go back to 2014, you look at this team, this is stretched 3 different coaches. Man, what we've seen in week 1 has kind of proven its way out for the following 13 weeks. Like 2014, helter-skelter team never could show really how dominant they were. 2016, inconsistent offense plagued by just a really poor defense. 17, what you saw against Virginia Tech, bad offensive line play, never got better.
17 was Alabama.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 17 Alabama. You saw a team that really couldn't do anything in the second half. That made no adjustments even before Francois went down. 18 with Virginia Tech. Obviously, that kind of proved the rest of the way. 19, you lost to Boise, and that was a bit deflating. And the defense never really found its footing, maybe a little bit against Virginia for a half. And then last year, that defense, it's hard to really pick them apart too much because it was only 16 points. Was it 16, 14, 16, 13, whatever it was? But, man, they could not get off the field in the second half.
Well, and also they just lost the game. Like it was an eminently winnable game throughout the whole game. All you had to do was go make a play. Your quarterback had to make a throw. Your star wide receiver had to make a catch. Yeah. Your defense had to get a stop or another turnover. And it just didn't happen because this team doesn't do those things in critical moments, typically. And so that's what I think can wash over a team. And you hope that stuff is all out of them. But, yeah, of course, if you're 1-1 going to Wake Forest and you have a lead in the fourth quarter and blow that, everybody that's been there for multiple years will be like, well, here we go again. And I promise you every fan in the fan base will like, yep, that's what Florida State does now. They can't get any momentum going at all. They can't have a 3 or 4 game winning streak. That's not what they do. So I've commanded myself to just take it a one game at a time approach, Aslan. Okay. I'm not looking ahead.
Boo.
You look at a stretch that has Jacksonville State, Wake Forest, Louisville, and Syracuse, the last 2 at home. Yeah, that should quite frankly be 4 wins with a regular Florida State team. Wow. For most years of my life, 90% of my life, that should be a guaranteed 4 wins with a Florida State football team. But we're not there yet. The Notre Dame game, I think, can tell us that they can get there. Even if they lose that game. If they play well, they can get there.
UMass on the 23rd of October, then you have an off week, and then this thing sets up practically, it's like a tale of 2 seasons. It's a 2-half football season for sure because, I'm sorry, after North Carolina you have an off week, then you have UMass, and then it's, full bore.
Which that's a really odd, I mean, I know you got to do what you got to do, but that's an odd to have an off week and then UMass.
Yeah, well, I guess Ira's point was maybe you kind of look at it as 2 weeks to prepare for Clemson.
Well, you could have 9 weeks. What is that? Wouldn't you rather have 2 weeks to prepare for NC State, a game that you can win?
Yeah. By the way, Clemson and Florida both on the road. So, with Florida we kind of knew, obviously, so that's that. That's a brutal second half. Those last 3 games: Miami, at Boston College, at Florida. So I guess maybe to Ira, I wasn't trying to criticize Ira at all, but you could start 5-1 maybe. But you could still end up the season 7-5.
Yeah,
it's that kind of brutal.
But we have no idea what we don't know what Boston College is going to be like next year. They could be the worst team in the league. Miami could take a huge step back. Maybe Derek King gets hurt.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. I mean, he went down in the bowl game. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, he might decide he doesn't want to play. Who knows? We just don't know what any of these teams are, just like they don't know what Florida State is. I'm saying all this. I'm pretty close to the Florida State program. You guys listen to this show because we typically know what we're talking about when it comes to Florida State. Maybe not where Amari Gaynor's going to be playing with this position switch, but other things. Florida State might be vastly improved next year. But right now, I can promise you nobody on that schedule, Syracuse, Louisville, Wake Forest, none of them are saying, they're not chalking Florida State up as a loss.
Yeah.
So you can go around chalking up Louisville as a W because it's at home. Don't, because they're not doing it. It isn't, and they certainly don't fear Florida State right now. But Florida State might be vastly improved and still finish with 7 wins. But yeah, man, that Miami might be a very winnable game at Florida. We have no idea what Florida's going to be. Yeah. They lost their whole offense, so they might be just an average SEC team. Well, Florida State, if they're much improved, they can beat an average SEC team. But again, that's only 10 months away.
I do like Miami later in the season, though, because as we've seen, that's a team that does not play their best in November.
Correct.
They peak in September.
Yeah, they seem to. That seems to be their MO.
Kind of good to grab. And again,
I didn't realize they start with Alabama.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And Georgia plays Clemson to start the season?
Saw that.
Okay.
Auburn
I didn't realize
plays
any
Penn
of those
State
games.
week 3. Man, let's hope all these stadiums are back rocking. It should be.
Gotta be, man. Gotta be. I told you my mom already got 1 vaccine.
Let's go. Did she? All right. Let's go.
Yeah. Last week she got her first dose.
Moderna, Pfizer?
The one that's 28 days between doses. I can't remember which one it is. So she goes back in a few weeks, and then, hopefully by April, man, you and I are just getting vaccines left and right.
Okay. And again, you probably know the schedule, everybody, but it's Sunday, September 5th, home against Notre Dame. Then you have Jacksonville State at home the following week. On the road, Wake Forest. Back at home, Louisville. Home, Syracuse. On the road, Chapel Hill versus North Carolina. Off week. UMass home. Clemson at Clemson. Home versus NC State. Home versus Miami. And then Boston College, Florida to end the season on the road. So we're not doing it, Corey. We're not going week by week yet. We're not doing it.
No.
Okay. Let's get on the ponies then, shall we? Why is something as fundamental and frequent in our lives like dinner so flummoxing for many of us? I don't know the answer to that question, but maybe you can find some help at HelloFresh.com. If you go to HelloFresh.com/WakeUp10 and then use that promo code WakeUp10, you'll get 10 free meals, including free shipping. The food, easy and delicious. That's what BC Noles 16 says on Warchant.com's Tribal Council. Says that he and his wife have been doing HelloFresh for a couple years. They love it. Started getting it once a month, and they went to every other week. Now they get it every week, and that's one of the cool things about HelloFresh. You can get some flexibility in your delivery, if you will. I enjoy the variety. My first box had a little Mediterranean flavor. Then we had some Southeast Asia taste that hit the buds quite nicely. BC Noles 16 says that the shrimp and chorizo paella is highly recommended. So he wouldn't lead you astray, and neither would I. So go to HelloFresh.com/WakeUp10 for 10 free meals and free shipping. HelloFresh.com, America's #1 meal kit. Drill Sergeant Porter starts us off. Wake up! Had a question watching the AFC-NFC championship games. Does the NFL not have targeting? Or are they just better tacklers? I watch FSU and other big-time college matchups every week and not as much NFL, but I can't remember ever seeing a targeting call. Also, with FSU loading up on defensive transfers, is it obvious to say that it is Coach Norvell giving Coach Fuller every opportunity to prove his worth, and also he thinks these are the right pieces to this puzzle to start a winning culture again? Thanks for all you do, as always. Go Noles! Was there targeting on that fumble? There wasn't, right? With the Cleveland guy that lunged for the
no, which should have been because it basically changed the game. That was going to be 1st and goal at the 1 because they wouldn't have called it a fumble out of the back of the end zone. It wouldn't have been Chiefs' ball. They would have called the targeting, which they should have, and it would have been the Browns' ball, 1st and goal at the half-yard line, which you got to assume they would have scored. So that was a 7-point swing, and I think that game was a 3 or 4 point game. So yeah, that was kind of a big deal. They do have it. They do call it. It's not nearly as it's not enforced nearly as much as it is in college. I would equate it to like a charges in basketball.
Well, I don't think they stop play. Like they don't stop play and then review like the previous play to see if there was targeting the way they do in college.
No, correct. And look, in college, I would say when it's a 50-50, when a guy stands still or tries to stand still and gets hit in college basketball, I would say it's 50-50 whether it's a charge or a block, whether they're going to call it a charge or a block. It's almost always a block. But again, referees love calling charges. They love pointing the opposite direction. They love singling first down on basketball courts. So they're going to call a charge more than they should, but it's probably 50-50. In the NBA, it is 90-10 or 95-5 they will call a block. Yeah. They almost never call charges, even when LeBron or Giannis is steamrolling downhill, because they want to see real basketball, man. They don't want to, the guy like shrunk up and stood there, kind of stood and smudged just a little to his left and flew backwards like he'd been hit with a cannonball. We're going the other way. No, they're going to give him an and one. So NBA defenders don't do that nearly as much as college defenders do because they know they're not going to get rewarded for it because they're not going to foul LeBron out on a bogus charge call. So I would say targeting is kind of the same. Like they do call it in the NFL, but they're not actively looking for it. They're not looking for reasons to kick their players out of games like college football is. But, it's the stupid letter of the law. I don't have a problem with targeting the rule. The enforcement at the college level is absurd, and the stupidest thing that college sports does is eject kids from football games.
And also on that note, I did watch, and this is anecdotal, I was watching the Belichick-Parcells documentary, the 30 for 30, like last week, and they were obviously showing the plays that they were making on defense with the Giants back in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s maybe. And, I guess the whole thing, we think of like, Jack Tatum, clotheslining people and just everybody getting massacred out there on a football field. Deacon Jones taking people's heads off.
Yeah.
Now, all the plays they were showing were clean plays, just like really clean tackling. I wonder how much of that is the fact that you're tackling a 180-pound running back, not a 240-pound guy, and you can tackle him because it's possible.
In fact, I think the Bucs got called for targeting in the NFC Championship game. And it was a good one. It was a good call. He wasn't ejected, but it was a good call. I think they called him on it. But there's just so many dumb rules in the NFL, or just in football in general. Like, who did the Chiefs just beat? I just had a brain cramp.
Bills.
Yeah. So remember that play where there were 4 personal fouls?
Yeah.
And 3 were on the Bills, and 1 was on the Chiefs, and they all offset? Why not get 10 personal fouls then? Like, if it's just going to be 1 equals 3. Like, if there's 1 penalty on each side, they all offset, then the Bills should have gotten 9 personal fouls. Yeah. They should have taken helmets off and shoes off and thrown them at each other. So that's a dumb rule, too. It should be like, okay, well, 3 is more than 1, so we'll go back 15 yards, and then we'll add 30. And so the Chiefs come out ahead. But anyway, you're not listening to this show for my take on NFL rules.
Second part, then. Is it obvious with the transfers that Norvell's giving Fuller every opportunity to prove his worth and that he thinks these are the right pieces to the puzzle to start a winning culture? It sounded like it when we spoke to him on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think he definitely thinks they're better pieces than what they had. They were much-needed pieces. And, yeah, I think he's excited about it. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is his way of doing that, but we all know that the defense can't look like that again next year. If it looks like anything close to what it looked like in 2020, he will be hiring a new defensive coordinator for the 2022 season. He can't go through that. I don't know if it's like, here, I gave you all these great pieces, you better not screw this up. He's trying to help Fuller out, but Fuller also has to help himself out and put together a competent defense that looks coordinated.
Old Dad's a Nole. Wake up! After not being able to cash a winning ticket on FSU or Gonzaga last March, I have made my wagers for this year. Write these down, everybody. Old Dad's a Nole. I got Baylor as my favorite, 6.5 to 1, and again took our Noles, 27 to 1. What a value! Has Vegas not been paying attention to what's brewing in Tallahassee? What do you guys think? I'd be all over 27 to 1. Yeah,
I would be all over 6.5 to 1 too, because that Baylor team is stacked. Yeah. And they beat the bejesus out of everyone. They're beating teams by 40 and 50 points.
Weren't they supposed to play Gonzaga, but COVID got them?
Maybe. That seems about right. I know they're playing Auburn on Saturday in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, which is a weird thing to have in the middle of a season. But, yeah, man, I think 27 to 1 is a great value. I mean, you put $50 on that. I don't think you would think you're wasting $50. It's not like you're putting $50 on Georgia basketball to win the national championship. Florida State, when they play well, they're one of the, 6, 8 best teams in the country. So yeah, I wonder what I think last year I remember seeing when the season was canceled and they had the odds of favorites to win it. I think Florida State was like 6th or 7th favorite to win it. 27-1 makes it sound like there's like 25 teams ahead of them.
Right.
Favored to win it more than that. But yeah, I think that's a really good value. I can't believe it's 27-1. That seems crazy.
That's a good one. And Aslan, who do you have on the Super Bowl? Laying 3 with Kansas City seems like stealing to me. Love the show, old dad. Yeah, I probably would take Kansas City. I just trust Mahomes. And Brady threw 3 picks, not to be that guy. And Green Bay just couldn't find a way to capitalize on it. I think Kansas City would be able to probably turn him over and capitalize on it because Patrick Mahomes just, whatever, human cheat code. He's amazing, man. He's unstoppable. You can only hope to contain him. You have thoughts?
He's
on
really
Mahomes?
good. I enjoy watching him play professional football.
They got a good pass rush, Kansas City, too. Although I do like Tampa's defense better. But, again, I'll take Mahomes against a better defense than Brady against a not as good defense. I think Mahomes is that good. So the stink maybe is on him. I don't know. We'll see.
So I just looked it up, and now at least the one I'm looking at on Vegas Insider, and I don't know how reliable it is, Florida State is 16-1.
All right. Well, thanks to old dads move the lineup. Probably plunk down a big chunk.
And
I
they're
would still
12th.
do that.
They're the 12th. They're the 12th favorite. They got better odds than Kansas and Michigan State for that matter.
There we go. 16-1, you said?
16-1. Yep.
I'd still
Baylor is
pass
6-1. Gonzaga's the favorite at 7-2.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Maybe after we're done with this, hop onto my bookie or whatever.
Yeah, do it.
Whack 169. Wake up, guys. Thank you so much for your work. I enjoy listening to you guys on my way to work and home. The story of Corey's dad driving to Macon to watch FSU made me LOL. I would love to hear the story of Corey's dad getting into a fight at an FSU game, but if he doesn't feel like telling it, that's cool. Thank you guys for all that you do, making my mornings bearable. 5 stars, Zaxby, subscribe. You know the drill. Thanks.
I don't think my dad appreciate it. I don't think my dad ever got into a fight.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
The only thing he did was when after the 92 wide right game in Miami, when we were in traffic driving back to the hotel on whatever that is, 95. I've told this story before, so I'll make it quick. But he got all the way over in the left lane for some reason. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then I see up ahead there's the car that stopped on the side of the road, like in the emergency lane. And there's Miami fans standing outside the car. The car had broken down, obviously, or run out of gas or something. And we go by slowly, and he rolls down the window as if he's about to say something to him, and then just gives the chop and keeps driving. And they flick him off and as we drive by. So he got a little bit of revenge there after another heartbreaking loss to at least make fun of the 4 guys on the side of the road.
There we go. Thanks for the kind note, Whack 169. I appreciate it. Here's Redbeard 37 as he goes by now on the Tribal Council. Wake up, gentlemen. Great to be aboard the Warchant Express finally. I guess since it's my first time riding in, I'm supposed to say where I'm from and name a famous athlete. Technically, I was born in Marietta, but raised in Jacksonville, so I'll give you 2. Marietta, Georgia, home to Bradley Chubb. Jacksonville, going to go with Sam Cowart. Corey, I have been a Nole fan my whole life, 41 years. My dad is an FSU grad, which is what led me down the road to my fandom. Crazy thing is my dad also graduated from Florida, but decided to root and support the Noles and raise me a Nole fan. Never too late to turn it around, boys and girls. Never too
Smart dad.
So there seems to be some questions about what kind of recruiter Norvell would be at this level, that is the Power 5, and in the state of Florida. My question is, how much has your guys' opinion on Norvell's ability to recruit changed after what he's done in the portal, and will it affect how he recruits Florida moving forward? Yeah, man. I think to get a guy like Jermaine Johnson, that's a big thing to me. That seems like a very driven, focused young man who has big-time aspirations for his playing career and future, and if you can sell a guy like that's impressive to me.
But does it alter you? He's only selling them for a year, really 6 months.
Yeah,
I guess 9 months. Does it alter your judgment of him as a recruiter, not as a portal recruiter, but just an overall recruiter?
Yeah, man. You're still having to sell him on your vision, a plan. I mean, you got to say the right things. Everybody else is saying many of the same things you are. I don't know. Are you thinking like the brand sold itself more than Norvell?
I think it does for these guys.
Okay.
For a 22, 23-year-old, yeah, Mackenzie Milton was playing. I think Mackenzie Milton he might have been in college when Jameis was in college. They remember those days. And I think Florida State is a very alluring place to transfer to, but but Alabama's not trying to get Andrew Parchment. I don't know that Alabama's trying to get Jermaine Johnson or Jamie Robinson. I don't know why I'm using Alabama. Use Clemson. Use whoever. I want to see what he can do at this level with high school seniors, with 5-star, high 4-star, and 5-star guys. Eventually, He's not there yet. He can't be because of where the program is. I want to see if he can recruit at that level, high school seniors. That's what I'm looking for. I think Florida State will always be a pretty appealing destination to a kid in the portal. But you've got to get it to be an appealing destination to 4- and 5-star kids again. And so I'm still not sold on that part of it, but this is a good sign. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's altered my I don't really even have a judgment on him yet because of everything everybody went through this past year. It's hard to judge this recruiting cycle, but it's encouraging. But I'm still going to need to see some 4- and 5-star high school kids start to commit to Florida State too, like our man in Sewanee, Georgia, Travis Hunter. If he sticks, that to me is, and I know Travis Hunter grew up a huge Florida State fan, but that's still a big deal to me.
Second part of the question, what WWE wrestler do you think was the better collegiate football player, Ron Simmons or The Rock? It's not even a question.
Oh, Ron Simmons, easily.
Yeah,
The Rock, I mean, he had like 4 sacks in his career? I mean, he played on a good team, really good teams. They were loaded, and he started, but he wasn't an All-American. I mean, Ron Simmons was the dude. He was one of the best players in the country as a freshman. I would say Rock had the better. I'm going to go ahead and say Rock had the better pro wrestling career.
Yeah.
Since is he like the biggest one of all time? Him and Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore, I would think.
Yeah,
for that.
Man, he's man. I haven't followed wrestling since the Iron Sheik was the champ.
Oh,
it's been a minute. Roddy Piper, those guys, I haven't really been into it since. Is he still wrestling, Roddy Piper? Oh, did he pass away?
He's not even with us anymore.
I think he passed away. Sorry. He is, man, that should be a pretty sure. I mean, when I'm talking about a wrestler from the 80s, there aren't many with us anymore.
Iron Sheik's still kicking, though.
He is. And Hulk Hogan, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've watched some clips of Rock just talking. You can see why he's a movie star, right?
It doesn't matter.
Just he would own an arena of 20,000 people. Yeah. And he was the bad guy, but everybody loved him. Isn't that the whole thing with him? Yeah, man, he was magnetic. I get the appeal of The Rock. I don't think I've ever watched a single wrestling match he had. I've just watched him talking before or after. But it was he was magnetic. He was really good at that.
Is Brady's allure draw to wrestling, is it faded already?
It had, but now it's come back. He's getting me to record Raws, and he'll watch them in the morning before school. Right. Which is odd, but hey, man, whatever gets him up in the morning, gets him out of bed.
Well, all he's got is like First Take or Get Up. Like at least when we were kids, we had Keith and Dan rerunning or whatever.
Well, yeah, that's true. There's not a lot to watch on ESPN then. So yeah, no, he's into it again now.
Okay.
Weirdly.
All right. XDQ004. This is a real life human being with feelings and thoughts. Wake up! I have been a Noles fan since the early 80s. Growing up in South Carolina, I was a Clemson fan until I saw them play FSU. Something about those uniforms that appealed to me. Plus, Bobby and Danny Ford had some real battles. Greg Allen was my favorite player until Deion Sanders. 2 questions. 1, what 4 players are on your Seminole Football Mount Rushmore? XDQ004 goes with Bolitnikoff, Deion, Charlie, Jameis.
Man. So, Deion for sure. Charlie for sure. Then it gets tough, man. Like, is Warwick Dunn not on there? Is Peter Warwick not on there? Is it Winky and Jameis? Is it the 3 Heisman winners and Deion?
I'm way too prisoner of the moment. Mine would be like Jameis, Dalvin, Peter Warwick, and Deion.
Yours would be Jameis, Dalvin, DeMarcus Walker, and Brian Burns. Everything post 2010. Man, look, man, to have a Mount Rushmore of Florida State football, you need a couple mountains. You need 6 mountains. Yeah. I think for sure. So you wouldn't have Charlie on there?
No, I'd put Jameis, Deion, I think Dalvin, and P-Dub.
Yeah, those are good ones. Walter Jones, he only played a year, but Deion for sure. And I think if you asked any Florida State, man, Marvin Jones, Derek Brooks.
There should be a rule, maybe like they need to be 10 years removed, because if Dalvin Cook flames out in 2 or 3 years, I mean, because right now, like Dalvin Cook's one of the 5 best running backs in the NFL. He was absolutely electric and magnificent here, but I mean, then again, Jameis is on mine, and he hasn't done anything for a whole year in the NFL.
No, he did a whole lot in his first 5 years in the NFL.
He threw a touchdown in the playoffs. He's got a touchdown pass in the playoffs finally.
That's true. Man, I would say I don't know when Mount Rushmore was built, but I assume it was after all those guys have been president. They weren't still presiding when they built Mount Rushmore. I don't think Teddy. Maybe they did. Maybe Teddy Roosevelt was president when they built that thing.
1927.
That was after Teddy Roosevelt then. So I would say, give it 10 years. Yeah. So you can't have anybody post 2010.
Okay.
So now do it.
Charlie, Deion, Peter Warwick, and somebody old-timey. I guess Bolitnikoff maybe Ron Simmons.
Yeah, those are all good. I'd go Deion, Charlie, and then probably and the 2 Warwicks. Although I really want to put Marvin Jones up there, but the 2 Warwicks played all 4 years.
You knock Warwick Dunn off and you put Marvin Jones.
Yeah. So, I'm going to give it to the 2 Warwicks. They both played 4 years. They both won national championships, and I think Marvin Jones is the second best defensive player that's ever played at Florida State. But still, I'll go with Deion, Charlie, and the 2 Warwicks. I just think,
P-Dub is timeless. Like, P-Dub would...
Yep. And Deion and P-Dub are straight up timeless. Yeah. You can argue about who the best quarterback was in Florida State history, or who the best running back was in Florida State history. There is no argument about cornerback and wide receiver. None.
Dynamic. Looking to buy a home? Who isn't? First, though, you'll need someone in your corner, so turn to the experience and savvy of Home Financial Group. Home Financial Group offers products for any prospective buyer, whether FHA, VA, conventional, or commercial loan, and hard money for investors looking to generate wealth. Get a hold of Ryan. He's a Nole. 954-358-9247, 954-358-9247, and his team can put together a fully documented pre-approval so you can search with total confidence. NMLS number 1314679, Sunrise, Florida. All right, Matt AMCZ, wake up! I am reflecting on the college football world compared to 2010 when Jimbo became head coach. He blew the doors off the recruiting trail. A few short years later, we have an NFL roster and win a national championship. Even then, we didn't have SEC money or the best facilities, but climbed quickly. Fast forward to 2021, I think we have a great coach in Mike Norvell, but the landscape seems so different. Bam and Clemson paying millions and millions for assistants and analysts, football-only mansions. Are the competitive challenges now so great that it will take a small miracle for FSU to return to the playoff anytime soon? Or is FSU's brand and history still enough once we start winning again? And we will. And we will, he says. Go Noles. Appreciate you guys.
I don't think it'll take a minor miracle. Clemson's doing it. And Clemson is not – Clemson has more money than Florida State, but not a significant amount of more money. They're in the same conference too. And it's Clemson. You would think Florida State and Clemson would have – I know Clemson's been around longer, but they have more booster money, Clemson does. But it's not like the difference between Alabama and Florida State. And if Clemson can keep getting you just got to be the best team in the conference. That'll get you in the playoff, and especially when it expands. If you can be the best team in the ACC or the second best team in the ACC, you have a very good chance of reaching the playoffs. The problem, where I do think it is a minor miracle, if this continued landscape, if the disparity continues to get wider and wider and the gap just becomes astronomical, is consistently competing for national championships, consistently recruiting with and retaining coaches that also want to go coach at Alabama, or players that want to go play at Alabama or Auburn. I mean, have you seen what the Auburn football facility is going to look like? Have you seen those renderings?
Yeah, man.
It's going to have 2 studios, 2 recording studios, and a flight simulator. I mean, look, we aren't on. Meanwhile, Florida State's still trying to find somewhere on its campus to even start building. And they don't know, they might have a Miss Pac-Man. And Auburn's going to have a flight simulator and 2 recording studios. So that is where the disparity continues to grow, and it's outrageous. They got to spend their money on something because they're making it hand over fist, and Florida State isn't, and NC State isn't, and everybody really outside the Clemson isn't. So I think the goal for the immediate time being is to worry about Clemson and to worry about getting to the top of the ACC, and then maybe somehow there is a way that this field can be leveled off with the rest of college football. Because right now it's the Big Two, man. It's not a Power 5, it's a Power 2. It's the SEC and the Big Ten. It would be like in the NFL if the NFC South and the AFC West got all the money and everybody else was just scrambling for the scraps. That's kind of what it is now. You got 2 conferences that make so much more money than every other conference that it's not a level playing field. And the only people that are controlling that are TV networks. And you would think TV networks would want – the NFL took off because of parity. Well, gambling, but parity. You go into every season thinking you have a shot to to get into the playoffs.
You do, yeah. All these last to first teams and everything these turn around.
But the NFL is designed for parity. There's a salary cap. They all split the revenue. It is a parity-driven league, which makes what Brady and Belichick did in New England so incredible because they did it for 20 years. Nobody does that. But that's what college football should want. They should want parity. Maybe not in the group of 5. They can do their own thing. But in the Power 5, there should be parity. You should want a team in the Pac-12 to think they have a chance to win national championship or to get to the playoff, or a team in the ACC. But they don't because they don't get the same. They're not even. It's like the Kansas City Chiefs having a $190 million salary cap and the Atlanta Falcons having a $92 million salary cap. Yeah, the Falcons can make some great decisions and it could work occasionally. The Rays can get to the World Series occasionally. And they have incredible scouting, but by and large, over the course of time, the Dodgers and the Yankees are going to continue to have really, really good teams, and the Rays and Braves and everybody else are going to have to scratch and claw. That's where college football is, in my opinion, right now, and it's only going to get worse as the gap widens. But hey, right now, just win your conference. Just be the best like I said, be the best in the NFC South, and maybe get lucky in the playoffs.
It is crazy, though. I do agree kind of with what Mark's saying in terms of the landscape of college football, maybe the way you divide up all the eras, like, there's the modern era, and, I think BCS is maybe kind of its own era, but then again, it overlaps so much with the Bowl Coalition, and, 2011, I don't think was all that much different from 1995. And then obviously, we're going to refer to this as the playoff era because of the new way we're going about finding a national champion, but it's not the process of it more so than just the way the dynamics, like the way the money has just absolutely exploded. I think like you'll look at like you'll go back and like look at the 1997 season, and coming up like in 2027, it'll be like this is an absolutely completely different sport almost. Not the way it's played to a certain degree, but just all the money and the resources and what's being invested, it's incredible, man. It's kind of sad, but lots of things change.
It is. I'm not nearly the fan of it as I once was. I think I'm older too, but I just think it was so incremental. Yep. Like 92 wasn't that much different than 1987. 97 wasn't that much different than 92. And as Mark said, but now we're 10 years removed from 2010, and it's almost a different sport. Like there are really one conference, but there are 2 conferences that get the vast share of the money, and they spend like drunken sailors, and you can't compete with that. You just can't. You're not going to – Florida State's not going to have a flight simulator. They're not going to have a recording studio where you can go lay down some tracks after practice. They're not going to have it. They're not going to have a fountain made of chocolate. They're not going to have a barber shop. That stuff isn't going to be in their football facility, if they have one at all.
Maybe you okey-doke them. Maybe you hope that those become distractions. Like players just want to get in rap battles. So the opposition's just spending all this time in the lab on beats, spitting bars while you're working. You're grinding in the weight room.
Yep. Or they all want to become pilots.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And they find their real passion is flying planes and not playing football.
We're working on jet sweeps over here while you guys are working on fake jets. Championship. By the way, construction started in 1927 on Mount Rushmore, was completed in 1941. It's amazing. Can you believe that? That's it? Only took them 14 years?
only took them 14 years.
Well, it's a monstrosity. It's amazing. In 1920, in the 30s, they didn't have all the reticulating, snorkel lifts, and at least I don't think they did. I've always liked to think they were up there chiseling.
I guess that's true because at Stone Mountain that took a while too to carve that thing.
Next question.
Sorry. Hey, by the way, Hank Aaron, can we get him on the side of Stone Mountain? That's all I'm saying. I'll put him on a horse if you have to. I'll take Hank Aaron on the side of that mountain. That's what I want to look at.
It's Daryl in Thomasville, North Carolina, Captain D_63. Wake up, gents. Hope you both are well. My questions are, with the portal, a team can make up ground in a hurry if they get the right players and the right fits. This year, FSU has made some strides towards gaining some ground. The other night, on Tuesday, you all gave Coach Norvell a B to B+ in recruiting and the portal. With that said, how long does it take to make up ground on Clemson or to be competitive? That's question number one. 3 years?
Those are two different questions, right? Like, you can make up ground this year.
Okay.
But does that mean you're competitive with them? Probably not.
What's competitive then? 2 years? Next time we're in Death Valley? 4-quarter game?
I assume Florida State's just going to continue playing Death Valley for the rest of the time, right? They'll never host Clemson again, or Florida. Look, to catch Clemson, it's going to take a minute. It just is. Like, it's just going to take a minute. It took.
North Carolina, though, man. Wasn't it Mac's first year? They took him to overtime, or
but I'm not even talking about that necessarily. You could play well for 4 quarters and be in a game with Clemson, but does that mean you caught Clemson? Like, think of did NC State catch Florida State in 1998? No, they just had a quarterback threw 6 interceptions and they had Torrey Holt. But to catch them as far as compete for the same players and always be thought of as the 2 best teams in the conference and go back and forth and have a real rivalry again, that's a few years away, man. I don't know that you can live and die with the portal and get there. But again, this year could be the stopgap, the bridge to something special on the recruiting trail where you can start building classes that can compete with Clemson annually. I think that's the hope. But yeah, to be competitive with them on the field, for 1 year, for one game, for 1 3-hour stretch, I don't know, man, 2 years. But to be equal with them as in the stature of the program, 5, right? 4 or 5, where you can say you're on the same footing as them.
Yeah.
And that's if Norvell does a really good job.
Yeah. I think you have another year of this. You have another year, I think, where you'll be depending heavily on the portal. What kind of makes you a little bit leery is that you're still relying on that first class that he had 7 days to put together. Like those, because if you do another fix in the portal for 2022 or what have you, all right, like those guys, like Lawrence Toafili needs to be amazing. Robert Scott needs to be a second-team ACC caliber tackle. Darian Williamson, TJ Davis, like DJ London, those guys are going to have to kind of flourish to then be able to catch up with high school recruiting, because I don't think you'll be able to constantly. You'll be able to get a little bit of fixes in here and there, but I don't think you want this to be part of your long-term plan. But who knows, man? Things change.
There were 400 workers on Mount Rushmore, almost 400 workers, which I feel like you could have put a little more up there, and no fatalities during the 14 years.
Look at that.
I would have thought that was almost an impossibility.
Stick that in your pipe, OSHA. Guys. Yeah, let's go.
Good job.
Second question, does this basketball team have the makeup and chemistry to make it to the Final Four and possibly a final game with Gonzaga with a possible upset and a national championship? Or is this team about a year away? Thanks, guys, for all you do. Remember, eat Zaxby's, subscribe to the Warchant, hit the like button, go Noles. Thank you, Daryl. Yeah, hey, man, you make the national championship game, I'll get it. There's potential for upset, absolutely. And they're not a year away. I think that this program now, Corey, is you can make it to the Final Four, and from there the sky's the limit. Who knows how the chips fall with the way they have this thing. They're built to be able to get there, and they're going to bring in more guys even when Scotty Barnes leaves after this year if that happens.
Yeah, no, they can definitely get to the final. They're playing at a very, again, we've seen the ceiling now. Maybe we even haven't. Maybe there's a little higher they can go, but the way they've played these during this 5-game winning streak, I mean, they didn't even shoot the ball well. They didn't play really well offensively at all against Miami the other night, and they won by 22 points. It's what they're doing right now. Now, they have a tough game on Saturday against Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech's good and old and experienced and barely lost to Virginia, barely lost to Duke. So that'll be a tough game. But, yes, if they play well, yeah, they're Final Four caliber good. I would say each of the last 4 teams have, maybe 5, even going back to Isaac's year. I think each of the last 5 teams, 4 especially, have been good enough to get to the Final Four. I think 3 years ago, if Nichols and Kofor aren't not with the team, they have a very real shot of beating Gonzaga again. Obviously, I think they almost beat Michigan to get to the Final Four, and then they'd have played Loyola of Chicago in the Final Four to get to the championship game. So a lot of it's matchups and breaks, but yes, they have a ceiling now where they have 9 or 10 or 11 guys they run at you that are all good players, and they believe in themselves. They're better. I don't know that they're better than they were last year, but they're so much better than they were just in December that if they keep improving, it's pretty. You can get yourself to think, okay, yeah, they would have to play very poorly to lose in the first 2 or 3 rounds of that tournament. They would have to play exceptionally poorly, or a team would have to just get crazy hot from 3. That's how they would lose, and that can happen. It's basketball, but yeah, they can get to a Final Four. They definitely have the ability to get to the Final Four. Hey, our man Calhoun, he's so close to busting out. He's just, again, he had a breakaway and just kicked it all over the place and then missed the dunk after that crazy alley-oop dunk he had. This guy, I'm really excited to see what he looks like in the next couple months and then especially next year.
Yeah, man. Bourbon is your friend. Wake up! Dave from Bardstown, Kentucky here, a.k.a. Bourbon is your friend, a.k.a. Tommy's dad. I think when we had that young boy call in the other day on the show, I think that was Tommy.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is his dad. Welcome to the Terror Dome, gentlemen. I'm an FSU grad, class of 2000. I hail from Apopka, Florida, and while the predictable answer to your running question for first-time contributors, such as myself, of who we're from and the famous people from there would be Sammy Smith, Warren Sapp, Zach Greinke, as some of the biggest celebs. I prefer to name John Land. He is the longest-serving full-time mayor in U.S. history and attended First Presbyterian Church of Apopka with me. Greg Hobie Hubbard, keyboard, vocals for Sawyer Brown, and also attended First Pres, as it's known to locals. Also, John Anderson, who, of course, penned the indelible ballad Seminole Wind. I mean, you buried the lead. You buried the lead, Dave. I didn't realize that. Seminole Wind was penned by a guy from Florida, from Apopka?
Okay, all right.
Let's go. First question, football related. Do you ever wash 80% of the dishes, then tell your significant other you got them to third and manageable? If so, is this more effective for you, or does it result in a targeting crown of the palm of the hand to the side of the face, resulting in repeat of dishwashing effort, as it does for me?
I've never gone with the third and manageable route. There have been some stuff that I'm just like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with this. It's got crust on it. It's not coming off. I'll just throw it straight in the dishwasher.
So you hand wash your dishes? I do.
I get all the goop off it. Like if there's mustard or ketchup or gravy or something on there, I'm getting all that off before I throw it in there, and crusty like bread pieces, crumbs. But yeah, I don't go. It's not spick and span. But I get it clean enough that I feel okay putting it in the dish, except for like cookie sheets and stuff. That's just going straight in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, people wanted to know, and I gave them an answer.
There you go. Secondly, Corey, he says he would wish to offer my response to a previous question regarding which team you would like to see win a national championship, football or basketball. As much as I love our football team, an NCAA tournament championship for Florida State would be an all-time sweet and savory moment in FSU athletic history, and gosh darn it, the basketball team deserves it more for the way they've ascended the past 5 to 7 years. Let's go, Noles.
There you go. Even more so, well, not even more so. Obviously, the national. I want them to just get to a Final Four.
Yeah.
And when you're there, you might as well win it. But this is a Final Four caliber program. And last year, they had a really good shot. They got injury, bad luck the year before that. They lost by, 4 points in the Elite Eight the year before that. They're knocking on the door. Yep. So it would be cool if they kicked that thing down and got to a Final Four.
Random_John, good morning, Corey and Aslan. I have heard Corey mention a few times that he does not believe this FSU basketball team is better than last year's team. How many more 20 to 30-point leads in game before the Vipers ruin it does he need to see before he crowns his team as better?
Hey, it's a very fair point. Again, we're just still in January. It's just, again, it's hard to fathom a team that lost 2 lottery picks, and lottery picks that are playing, by the way, and playing well in the NBA without an offseason, without a summer league. They're already thrown into the fire and playing well in the NBA. That you would be better without those guys. But I haven't changed my opinion yet. But I'm it's heading in that direction because yes, somehow, at least through these 5 games, this has been about as a dominant stretch as any Florida State team has had in my lifetime. Like you don't do this in the ACC. Miami's one thing because they're shorthanded, they don't have their best player. I got it. But what they did the 4 games prior to that, like it's one thing to beat Clemson. Clemson's going to lose. Louisville's going to lose. They're not down by 38 points and 24 points. You don't beat NC State by 30. That's just not stuff that happens. So, yes, somehow maybe this collection, maybe the improvements of Bosa and the improvements of both Raekwons and MJ getting better, Calhoun being on the floor, being on the team, Polite being better. Like maybe that's somehow made this team even better than the one that had the 2 lottery picks. And Trent Forrest, who was pretty good.
Or is it just the way, and I'm the guy that snickers at culture, or do you think in a season that we're having to undergo and what they're having to face and undertake, do you think that what Ham has built just makes this program that much more sort of battle-tested and suited to navigate it more so than any other team they're playing right now?
You mean like navigate the COVID?
Yeah, well, just
like fans and
the starting and the stopping,
starting
of seasons and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. They're also really talented. Like I think Bosa might be an NBA player, man. Like that turnaround jumper he had the other night.
Woo!
I mean, that's a Dirk Nowitzki move.
Yeah.
And we saw the crossover and the Euro step he had against Louisville and the follow dunk. He's becoming a guy, man. Calhoun's becoming a guy. Scotty already is a guy. MJ's a guy. Raekwon Gray. I mean, they got guys that are going to play the basketball, some in the NBA for a really long time, and they're tough. They got a little what for to them. Like they don't mind telling you that you're not any good, and they're very good. They got some of that in them. It's an interesting collection of players, man. And yeah, I think the program has something to do with it. And I just think it's just what he's built, where they don't accept mediocrity. I was talking to Raekwon Gray. I interviewed him earlier in the day about a story I'm working on with him, and he's like, look, if you don't play hard at Florida, you don't buy into the unselfish spirit that we have, you stick out like a sore thumb, and you're going to get squashed. Like nobody needs you there. Nobody needs you like that. That's what we do. And I just think that permeates everything. And in a year like this, especially when you can be selfless, it only enhances the team.
He went on to joke, what does Leonard Hamilton and company have to do to truly impress Corey? Does Ham have to take the ball on a bad call and dunk it, thus earning a pretty cool tech? Spill the beans, Corey. What do you need from this team?
They keep winning. Keep winning. They're going to have some slip-ups. What was impressive about the Miami game was they didn't shoot well, and they still won easily. So we're going to see, though. They got Virginia coming up. They got I think they're on the road for 4 straight games coming up here. They got Georgia Tech. I think Boston College. Then they made up. They're making up the Pitt game, and then they got maybe Virginia Tech after that. So I think they got 4 road games in a row.
Do we got
they're
Virginia
not real
at any
road
point?
games. Do what?
Do we get Virginia at any point?
Yeah, down in Tallahassee at some point. I don't know when. I don't look. You know me. I like to take it one game at a time.
That's how we roll.
But they do have 4 road games in a row. Okay. So let's see what they look like. I expect them to play very well and be what they've been defensively. And knock down shots, but let's see what they look like because they are going to have a couple stinkers. Even the team last year had a couple stinkers. I want to see how they respond to that.
Okay. Home stretch. I think we got 3 more here. This is simply a kind note from Gator Kirk, Gator188. Wake up! Thanks for all you do for the phenomenal Nole coverage you provide. Keep bringing it like that Calhoun alley-oop. That was indescribably good. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
it wasn't even a very good pass. No. My man, it didn't matter. My man was in the air. He was just going to wait. He's going to wait and go get it wherever it was passed.
GSO-Nole joined January 1st, 2021. Welcome. Wake up! I am coming to you from deep in enemy territory, but near the ACC offices and not too far from the pillar known as Darryl. First time I have written in as I am a new Warchant subscriber. I grew up in Fernandina Beach, where during a game against Clemson in 1988, my FSU fandom started. As far as famous athletes with ties to FB, I claim DJ Stewart as I went to high school with his parents. Also, the recruit that got away, known as the king of the stiff arm, Derrick Henry, is from Yulee, just over the bridge. I have been lucky to live in two areas of the country that have a passion and love for college sports. Here in North Carolina, basketball is the passion like football is in the rest of the Southeast. It has been amazing to see the surge in the FSU basketball program over the past several seasons, and I am enjoying this year's team very much. As we look forward, the ACC is going to see a change in the coaching guard with Coach K and Roy heading to retirement in the next 3 to 5 years. Up here, they talk about the respective coaching tree each program has for a replacement. I hope Ham makes it a minimum of another 5 years, but if he were to move on to retirement, does FSU even have a coaching seedling, much less a coaching tree that they would be able to draw from, or would they just be looking in the open market? Next year, I'm going to coordinate an invasion of what will be soon known as Knoll Hill at the Wake Forest Stadium. Daryl, are you in? Gator757 Kirk, you making the trip. Let's go, Noles.
Yeah, man, that's third week. It's going to be it's the third week in September. It's Snuggy Hill. It's going to be probably a really pretty day in North Carolina, the middle of September. I'm hoping a high of 78. You need to get your butt in your picnic table. Bring a picnic table or a picnic blanket, whatever you want. They'll let you bring in anything. Roll your keg down there, but get on the hill. We tried it 2 years ago, and it was a disaster. I think we got a little more clout now. 2 years later, I want Snuggy Hill. If you're going to buy a ticket to that game, go sit on the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being in that end zone. It'll be like the student section at Doak. And you're just going to be going crazy. It's going to be – they don't police that section at all. You can do whatever you want in there. So go do that. And the kids will be mortified, the kids that are usually there running around. But it's a Florida State game. They need to learn. And then, as far as Leonard, he's got Dennis Gates, who's the head coach at Cleveland State right now. And I think they're 10-1 in their conference.
Let's go.
Which is really doing a nice job up there for sure. I don't know that in 3 years Florida State would go hire the head coach at Cleveland State, even if he does have Florida State ties. I'm sure he would get a look, and I'm sure Stan and CY would get a look. Again, Stan's, it's just a number, but Stan's in his 60s, and he's never been a head coach. So I don't know if that's a tough sell or not. I'm sure Leonard would give both those guys his approval, and I'm sure they would ask Leonard. But I don't know that he'd have final approval, but they'd get his suggestions for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like Duke where they have there's Capels running around, there's Hurleys running around, there's Wojos. They don't have that kind of tree that Krzyzewski does. But it's all a crapshoot, man. Look at Matt Doherty at North Carolina. Like, he was a North Carolina guy. He played with Jordan, and he had success at Notre Dame. And then he came to North Carolina and fell flat on his face. So you never know what those ties will do, and who. You just hope that they can somehow keep this momentum building or keep this momentum going.
Last one, MCAT DT 77, Marching Chiefs all the damn time 77. That's my number 77, by the way. Well, I may not be a giving pillar of the show, but I am currently a listening pillar. Just as important.
Yep.
I really appreciate all of the live shows.
Come on. It's not just as important.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. We like money. Money spends. These notes don't. But I appreciate it. It makes me feel good about myself. I really appreciate all the live shows and amazing content that you guys are giving FSU Nation. You guys rock. Question. Do you think with all of the transfers that we are getting, that future 4- and 5-star recruits from high school will become discouraged and want to go elsewhere? Love all that you guys do. Go Noles.
No. If I'm a 5-star recruit, and obviously if you guys know my history, I was.
Right.
I would be much more worried about the 5-star they just signed at my position, who's either a sophomore or a redshirt freshman, as opposed to the guy they signed for a year that'll be gone, or maybe has 1 year left by the time I get to campus. I don't think it matters much. I really don't. I think. Otherwise Alabama wouldn't sign the best players every year at every position, or Clemson wouldn't sign quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Georgia just got a commitment from a 5-star quarterback after just signing a 5-star quarterback. I'm sure Kirby will pick the right one. That's what he does. So, but yeah, so no, I would be more. I don't think the transfers would dampen a recruit's enthusiasm nearly as much as another player at that position the same year, or a guy that had just been recruited the year before, maybe. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, the guys want to win. They want to play with other guys that are talented. I don't think they'd be scared away. Even to your point.
But if you are one of those guys that's worried about playing time,
right?
You wouldn't. Why would you go to a Alabama or Clemson or Georgia that just signed a top 50 kid, probably multiple top 50 kids at your position in the last few years? That's again, if you're going to a guy, this guy's going to be there for a year. Like, I don't think let's put it this way. I don't think Mackenzie Milton signing with Florida State will hurt them recruiting quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a wrap then. We're done for the week.
All right.
Is there a game on Saturday?
There is, Aslan. There's a game at I think I'm going to be there.
Ooh.
4 p.m. at McCamish Pavilion in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
Brady's got a game at 1, so I'll be able to watch him play, and then I'll go watch Scotty Barnes play.
Nice. We'll also be speaking to the baseball team Friday afternoon.
Yep.
Zoom. Coach.
First day of practice for the Seminole baseball team.
Yep. So plenty going on over at warchant.com, as well as a breakdown of the schedule. We will talk to you folks on Monday. Have a great weekend. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.